Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. The committee will now resume its consideration of Agenda Item 2, entitled Elections of Officers. Delegations will recall that at first plenary meeting on 28 November, the committee has postponed the elections of vice chairs and the designation of a rapporteur to this Friday, 2nd December, to allow me as the chair to conduct informal consultations with a view of finding a consensus on the candidates for the vice chairs. I have had consultations on this regard, as you know. Further to these consultations, it is my understanding that there is still no consensus on the election of vice chair from all regional groups. I therefore propose that the committee postpones the election of vice chairs from regional groups to its second session. I see no objection. It is so decided. In this regard, the designation of a rapporteur is also postponed. I would like to inform delegations that during the intersessional period in carrying out my responsibilities as chair, I will work in consultation with the agreed nominated candidates for the post of the vice chairs from the African states, Asia-Pacific states, Latin American and Caribbean states, and Western European and other states. With respect to the Eastern European states, I will continue to consult with the group on the way forward in relation to agreement on the nomination for the post of vice chair. I will continue my consultations with the Eastern European states. As I had mentioned, the committee has thus concluded with what I explained is consideration of Agenda Item 2. Distinguished delegates, I now invite the committee to resume its consideration of Agenda Item 3A, entitled Adoption of the Rules of Procedure. Delegations will recall that at its first plenary meeting on 28 November, the committee decided to apply the draft rules of procedure of the INC provisionally or to its work, with the exception of the bracketed text in Rule 37, Paragraph 1 on voting rights, and the three alternatives for Paragraph 2. The committee also decided that I, as chair, would hold consultations on Rule 37 on voting rights, as captured in Paragraph 1 by bracketed text, and the three alternatives for Paragraph 2 as set out in the working document with a view to reaching an agreement. In this connection, informal consultations were held on Tuesday, 29 November, on the proposal from the United States and the European Union for a consolidated text on Rule 37. There was also a proposal from Bahrain, Egypt, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia on Paragraph 2 of Rule 37. It appears that no compromise could be reached at this stage in relation to these proposals. In light of the fact that further consultations are needed on the bracketed text in Rule 37, Paragraph 1, and the three alternatives for Paragraph 2, I will conduct further consultations during the second session. These consultations will be without prejudice to the continued provisional application of the draft rules of the INC, with the exception of the bracketed text in Rule 37, Paragraph 1, and the 3 alternatives for Paragraph 2. No further decision is required by the INC at this stage until it decides to formally adopt its rules. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of Agenda Item 3 as a whole. There is a request for the floor. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of China.
谢谢主席，感谢您的领导和秘书处的工作，也赞赏所有线上线下参会者所展现的合作、包容和灵活的态度。中方想再次强调，中国在11月28日大会开幕式上就议事规则所提观点应被完整记录在大会报告中。现在我将重申中国就议事规则的立场，我将以英文表达。China proposed that we should keep the possibility of the hybrid format in order to facilitate the process forward, and emphasized that only the non-governmental organizations invited or credited can be the observers of the INC sessions. 请将上述内容完整记录进报告。谢谢主席。
I thank the distinguished representative of China. It is the statement of the delegation is duly noted. It will be reflected. The committee will now consider
Saudi Arabia.
There is a request for the floor from Saudi Arabia. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, this delegation would like to thank the Secretariat for the hard work during the past few days. I will try to keep my intervention short. We would like to understand how the meeting report will be dealt with and adopted at its current forum, and whether the members will be able to comment on the final version. We have the confidence that the Secretariat will include all the opinion putting forward during the informal consultation session. And also I'd like to point out that the outcomes report from the Dakar to be forwarded to the INC meeting is a draft rule of procedures without specifying whether there was an agreement on any specific point. We are all aware that any amendments on Rule 37 may require work on the rest of the section, so that we don't want to end up with an inconsistent text that was not agreed upon. The principle of nothing is agreed on until everything is agreed on. Thank you.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Arabia Saudita. Daría la palabra al ex secretario ejecutivo para que dé respuesta a su consulta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just to clarify on the procedure, the draft report that was circulated and posted earlier today is in a normal tradition of these kinds of processes as a report, a partial report, and it will be completed after the session, and the chair will get to that agenda item before the closure of the meeting. And the interventions from delegations will be reflected in the report once it is completed or before it is completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Now, the committee will consider agenda item 5, entitled Other Matters. Under this agenda item, I will invite the Secretariat to provide us with an update on the planning and organization of future sessions of the committee, including information on dates, venues, and offers to host or provide financial support for such session.
Let me just ask what Teague and Bobby.
There is a request for the floor online from India. I give the floor to India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. India wants to intervene on the issue of rules of procedure. As pointed out by Mr. Chair and many of the delegates present here, that we had a informal group meeting on the rules of procedure while discussing Rule 37. Many clarifications were sought from the legal advisor of UNEP. During that interaction, the linkage between voting rights and adoption of decision was made more clear. Examples were given with respect to UNFCCC and how the voting rights have been used and the adoption of decisions have been done in the different multilateral environmental agreements. India has always been a strong votary of decisions based upon consensus. While hearing those deliberations in the informal group, the linkage between the two rules became evident, and also the implication between this linkage was not very clear at that time. So our delegation put forwards that Rule 38(1), which talks about decision making on substantive item by 2/3 majority, may be considered and bracketed and considered as to be taken, decisions to be taken with consensus. Our intervention may so be recorded, sir. Thank you.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la India. Hemos tomado debida nota de su intervención. Hay un punto sobre el que quisiera regresar, que es cuando me referí a la información que di respecto a las delegaciones, respecto a los trabajos que iba a continuar realizando como presidente y las consultas que iba a realizar respecto con los candidatos nominados para los puestos del buró, que en ese momento me referí a los grupos regionales del África, del Asia-Pacífico, de América Latina y el Caribe, de Europa del Este y otros estados, y también debo señalar a los pequeños estados insulares, a los cuales no mencioné y me corrijo. También están designados el representante de los pequeños estados insulares, así que hago esa corrección. Me ha solicitado la palabra el distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы хотели бы поддержать заявление, которое только что было сделано онлайн представителем Индии, а также заявление, сделано Саудовской Аравией по вопросам правил и процедуры. Наше глубокое убеждение, что все международные акты могут считаться согласованными только когда согласован весь текст целиком. Мы придерживаемся подхода, что все решения в рамках природоохранных процессов должны приниматься на основе консенсуса. И таким образом хотели бы поддержать предложение, прозвучавшее выступление представителя Индии, в скобки также поставить и следующее за 37-м параграфом, 38-й параграф. Просили бы отразить наше заявление в итоговом документе совещания. Спасибо.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia y hemos tomado debida nota de su intervención. Le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Senegal.
Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je pense que nous sommes déjà revenus sur ce point à l'ouverture de la réunion, quand l'adoption de règles et procédures a été posée sur la table. La délégation du Sénégal qui a participé, comme toutes les autres délégations ici, à la réunion de Dakar, où on a adopté les règles et procédures, souhaiterait refaire la même déclaration, que nous ne sommes pas du tout d'accord qu'on rouvre des points qui ont été acceptés à Dakar. Il reste que la règle 37 pour laquelle il faudrait qu'on puisse avoir un consensus pour cela et adopter définitivement le document. Mais nous ne souhaiterons ouvrir aucune, et nous ne participerons à aucune négociation d'ouverture d'un quelconque paragraphe autre que le paragraphe 37. Merci.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Senegal y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de los Estados Unidos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor and for your efforts to conduct informal consultations on this issue on Tuesday. It is indeed unfortunate that we were unable to make progress on resolving the outstanding brackets on part of Rule 37, Paragraph 1, and the 4 alternatives to Rule 37, Paragraph 2. This delegation, like the distinguished delegation from Senegal, opposes reopening any agreed language in the draft rules of procedure as moved forward from the OEWG in Dakar, and as this body decided to apply provisionally to our work pending the adoption of rules of procedure. In our view, it is clear now under what rules we are operating, and we look forward to continued discussion at INC-2 in an effort to continue to seek a way forward on the remaining brackets in Rule 37. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United States. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Nigeria.
Thank you once more, Mr. Chair. I want to strongly believe that this rule has been a controversial one. However, affirmatively, we toe the path of Senegal and the United States. We do not intend in any way to continue to contend with any other rule. The rule to be discussed shall be Rule 37. However, the text in the bracket is what we would like to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you for your intervention. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and sorry for coming back. First, I'd like to echo colleagues, the distinguished delegation from India and Russia. And I'd like to reiterate the point that in Dakar, we had an extended discussion on 37, but with an agreement that once we agree on 37, we will go back to 38, since it's all interlinked. So the focus was on 37, but that wasn't the agreement that 38 is agreed on, since it's all connected under the voting right. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы хотели бы поддержать только что сделанное выступление представителем Саудовской Аравии и подчеркнуть, что в Дакаре у нас проходило заседание рабочей группы, в ходе которого в том числе были разработаны предложения, я подчеркиваю, предложения по проекту правил процедуры. Окончательное решение в отношении правил процедуры и их принятия должна принимать сессия МПК. Мы не приняли пока правила на сессии МПК, таким образом, предложенные правила остаются только в форме проекта. И, соответственно, на следующей сессии мы должны продолжить обсуждение относительно вопроса принятия данных правил процедуры. И до тех пор, пока МПК не примет эти правила процедуры, они остаются проектом. Спасибо.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia. I have no more requests for the floor on this issue. So the committee will now consider agenda item 5, entitled Other Matters. As I mentioned, under this agenda item, I will invite the Secretariat to provide us with an update on the planning and organization of future sessions of the committee, including information on dates, venues, and offers to host or provide financial support for such session. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished delegates, in its resolution 514, UNEA requested the Executive Director of UNEP to convene an intergovernmental negotiating committee to begin its work during the second half of 2022 and to convene a diplomatic conference of plenipotentiaries upon completion of negotiations by the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee for the purpose of adopting the instrument and opening it for signature. An ad hoc open-ended working group that met in Dakar from 30th May to 1st June 2022 agreed on a proposed approach to the work of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, where a proposed timetable for INC meetings was included. For the forthcoming sessions of the INC, 4 members have come forward with offers to host the subsequent sessions of the INC, and the following are offers of the venues for specific INCs. These are France, Kenya, Canada, and South Africa. We have also received 4 offers to host the diplomatic conference of plenipotentiaries to be convened in mid-2025. These offers have been received from Ecuador, Rwanda, Peru, and Senegal. Document INC.1/inf/.inf3/rev2 sets out the dates and proposed dates and venues. Please note, the next meeting, INC-2 will be an in-person meeting. Thank you, Chair. Oh.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. May I therefore take it that the committee decide that the second session to be... Sorry?
I just have to correct something. Apologies, I seem to have said South Africa and not South Korea. I'm really getting tired. I really apologize for that. I meant South Korea, not South Africa. Sorry.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. We have received an offer from France to host the second session to be held in the week of 22nd May 2023. I would like to note that the second session will be held as an exclusively in-person meeting. You will recall that host countries have an obligation, pursuant to a host country agreement, to issue visas for meeting participants from all member states. This is the standard provision in the Model UN Host Country Agreement. Visas should be issued at least 2 weeks in advance of the meeting. Should a country not be in a position to meet its obligation under host country agreement, including with respect to the issuance of visas, the Executive Director will convene the meeting of the INC in Nairobi, at the seat of the INC Secretariat. May I take it that this is agreeable to the committee? Do I see any objection? There is a request for the floor from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran, you have the floor. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. Regarding the venue of future meetings, this delegation thanks all the countries that have announced to host and prefers that the meeting be held in a place where it's possible to issue visas to all members of the delegation and thus participate in the INCs. Unfortunately, some host countries of international meetings do not issue visas to some countries or even some delegations members in a timely manner due to political considerations. Therefore, at each meeting of INCs, it should be verified whether all petitioners had the opportunity to participate or not. We believe that national focal points should be in contact with the Secretariat and inform it of their problems in order to obtain visas in a timely manner. Mr. Chair, in the interest of transparency, including in logistical matters, this delegation requests the Secretariat to follow up on this matter and report back to the plenary at the beginning of each meeting so that the committee members can make an appropriate decision for the next meeting. Once again, I would like to thank the government of Uruguay for allowing the participation of all delegations. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Прежде всего, хотели бы поблагодарить секретариат за предложение по модальностям подготовки и проведения предстоящей сессии МПК. График очень напряженный, и он потребует от всех делегаций и секретариата углубленной работы в межсессионный период, а также непосредственно в ходе сессии. Мы поддерживаем временной график проведения сессии. Однако определенное беспокойство у нас вызывает предлагаемое место проведения второй и четвертой сессии, а именно Франция и Канада. К сожалению, вынуждены констатировать, что делегации ряда стран, включая Россию, испытывают серьезные трудности в получении виз для участия в различных мероприятиях, проводящихся под эгидой ООН в этих странах. Так, целый ряд членов российской делегации в этом году не получил визы для участия во встречах по линии ЮНЕСКО в Париже и Конвенции о биологическом разнообразии в Монреале. Работа 15-й конференции сторон КБР начнется в Монреале уже в понедельник, 6 декабря. Глава российской делегации получил уведомление о возможности выдачи визы только сегодня утром. 3 члена делегации визы так и не получили. У всех у них на руках дорогостоящие авиабилеты, заказаны и проплачены гостиничные номера в Монреале, а виз нет. И самое главное, отсутствие этих представителей России в составе нашей делегации подрывает возможность эффективного участия России в работе 15-й конференции сторон КБР. Представители Канады были заранее уведомлены секретариатом ИНК о том, что в случае неполучения виз членами российской делегации на 15-ю конференцию сторон КБР наша делегация будет выступать против проведения 4-й сессии ИНК в Канаде. Тем не менее, визы российской делегации на 15-ю конференцию сторон КБР были выданы не полностью. В этих условиях мы вынуждены не согласиться на этом этапе с Канадой как местом проведения 4-й сессии в 2024 году. Предлагаем вернуться к этому вопросу в ходе 2-й сессии весной этого года. Рассматриваем безответственное поведение упомянутых стран как несоответствующее условиям соглашения страны, принимающей в себя мероприятия, проводящихся под эгидой ООН. В качестве жеста доброй воли и в интересах нашего переговорного процесса российская делегация приняла решение не блокировать проведение 2-й сессии МПК во Франции, понимая, что времени для ее подготовки остается крайне мало. При этом мы исходим из понимания, что визы всем членам российской делегации и других стран будут выдаваться без создания искусственных сложностей и заблаговременно. В случае, если все члены российской делегации не получат визы для участия во 2-й сессии, мы будем ставить вопрос перед секретариатом о перенесении места ее проведения в Найроби по месту размещения секретариата ЮНЕП. Помимо прочего, это будет отвечать положениям Декларации министров окружающей среды, принятой в феврале этого года в ходе возобновленной сессии Ассамблеи ООН по окружающей среде. В частности, в тексте этой декларации содержится призыв проводить максимально возможное количество встреч по природоохранной проблематике в Найроби, по месту размещения штаб-квартиры программы ООН по окружающей среде, ЮНЕП, призванной играть ключевую роль в международном природоохранном сотрудничестве. Прошу секретариат данное заявление опубликовать в качестве приложения к итоговым документам сессии. Spasibo, господин председатель.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia. So, I don't see more requests. France. I have a request from France. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Puisqu'il s'agit de la première fois que cette délégation prend la parole au sein de ce comité, laissez-moi tout d'abord remercier le gouvernement et le peuple de la République orientale d'Uruguay pour leur accueil chaleureux à Punta del Este. Ma délégation souhaite aussi vous remercier, Monsieur le Président, pour votre détermination dans l'impulsion des travaux de cette première session, avec le soutien du secrétariat. Ce cap nous a guidés tout au long de la semaine. Afin de poursuivre cette dynamique positive et constructive qui a présidé à nos travaux, la France est très heureuse d'accueillir la deuxième session du Comité intergouvernemental de négociation à Paris, la semaine du 22 mai 2023. Nous remercions le Comité pour sa confiance. La France veillera comme toujours au bon déroulement des négociations et est attachée au respect des principes et des règles qui les régissent aux Nations Unies. Ce rendez-vous devra incarner l'esprit de multilatéralisme qui a permis au programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement de réaliser de grandes avancées dans le domaine des affaires environnementales internationales. Nous avons hâte de vous accueillir à Paris pour poursuivre les riches discussions entamées cette semaine, gardant en vue l'objectif qui nous rassemble, mettre fin à la pollution plastique. Je vous remercie.
Je remercie les distingués représentants de la France. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Korea.
코리아는
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Republic of Korea, also known as South Korea, but our formal name in the UN is the Republic of Korea. We would be delighted to offer to host the 5th INC in the last half of 2024. So I just wanted to correct the name of the country. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Republic of Korea. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Thailand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thailand sincerely thanks the Secretariat for the proposed timetable for the Intergovernmental Negotiation Committee process. We would also like to welcome all offers to host the future INC session. In particular, Thailand are fully and strongly support the Republic of Korea to hold the 5th session of the INC. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Thailand. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Я хотел бы уточнить у вас, как будет оформлено данное решение в итоговых документах сессии. Местом проведения второй сессии будет означен Париж. Третья сессия у нас пока без места проведения остается. Извините, третья сессия проводится в Найроби, в Кении. Четвертая сессия остается пока без места проведения. И пятая сессия проводится в Республике Корея. Я правильно понял ход обсуждения, который у нас сейчас состоялся, и то, как это будет отражено в итоговых документах? Спасибо.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia y le aclaro que solo se ha tomado una decisión sobre el INC-2, sobre la reunión próxima que tenemos, el INC-2. May I also propose that the committee takes note of the following offers we have mentioned for the third session to be held from 13 to 17 November 2023 in Kenya, the fourth session to be held in early April 2024 in Canada, and the fifth session to be held in October/November 2024 in the Republic of Korea. I would also like to acknowledge that there are currently 4 offers to host the diplomatic conference of plenipotentiary, as has been informed by the Executive Secretariat, to be convened in mid-2025. These are from the governments of Ecuador, Peru, Rwanda, and Senegal. I would like to inform you that this will be reflected in the report of the meeting. I would also note that the second session will be held as an exclusively in-person meeting. I would like also to inform you that this decision will be reflected in the report of the meeting. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель, за разъяснение. Но я хотел бы вернуться к тому заявлению, которое я сделал ранее. На данном этапе и в условиях, когда российская делегация на конференцию сторон Конвенции по биоразнообразию не смогла получить визы, мы не можем и мы не в состоянии поддержать на этом этапе предложение о проведении 4-й сессии в 2024 году в Канаде. Предлагаем вернуться к этому пункту повестки дня на следующей сессии, которая состоится в Париже, и по итогам того, как будут выдаваться визы делегациям всех стран, мы примем решение в отношении проведения 4-й сессии в Канаде. Учитывая, что это будет вторая половина 2024 года, времени для подготовки данной сессии будет достаточно. Таким образом, российская делегация выступает против того, чтобы мы сейчас определились с местом проведения 4-й сессии в апреле 2024 года. Спасибо.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de la Federación de Rusia. Quisiera recordarle que lo que he señalado es que solo hemos tomado decisión sobre la reunión del INC-2. Sobre las otras ofertas que se han hecho, lo que hemos señalado es que el informe tomará nota de estas ofertas. No hemos decidido respecto a las otras sedes de los otros INCs. I give now the floor to the distinguished representatives of the European Union.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The EU and its member states warmly welcomes the decisions by the committee to host INC-2 in France. We also warmly welcome the generous offers of the government of Kenya, government of Canada, the Republic of Korea. Uruguay has provided us with a fantastic hospitality and a warm welcome on this very first step on this historic journey, and we look forward to continue our work in the spirit of multilateralism in France, Kenya, Canada, Republic of South Korea, with the aim of ending plastic pollution. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the European Union. I give the floor now to a distinguished representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States appreciates the offer made by France to host INC-2 and also strongly supports the offers made by Kenya to host INC-3, Canada to host INC-4, and the Republic of Korea to host INC-5. We also appreciate the tremendous efforts of Uruguay in hosting this first INC. All of these offers and hosting are significant demonstrations of leadership and commitment to this INC process. We look forward to making plastic pollution history with all of their support and hospitality. We would like our expression of support for the hosts of INC 2 through 5 to be reflected in the meeting report. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United States. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Switzerland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We also would like to thank all the 4 parties that have offered to host INC sessions. It is great that we could be able to agree to meet in Paris, and we are very confident and looking forward that we'll be able to meet in Kenya for the INC-2, in Canada for INC-4, and the Republic of Korea for INC-5. We also fully trust that all those host countries will fulfill their host country duties in an excellent manner. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Switzerland. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Norway.
Thank you, Chair. We are most grateful for the offer from France to host our second meeting and very much look forward to meeting again in Paris. We are equally grateful for the offer of Kenya to host INC-3, of Canada to host INC-4, and of the Republic of Korea to host our fifth and final meeting. We appreciate the importance of the INC taking our discussions to all continents. Chair, these offers have Norway's full support, and we look forward to our meetings there. Finally, let me extend my delegation's warm thanks to Uruguay for hosting us in Punta del Este. We ask our intervention to be reflected in the meeting report. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Norway y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Chile.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. En primer lugar, queremos agradecer las ofertas realizadas por Francia, Kenia, Canadá y la República de Corea respecto a ser sede de las INC-2, 3, 4 y 5 respectivamente, además de las 4 ofertas para acoger la conferencia de plenipotenciarios realizadas por Ecuador, Perú, Ruanda y Senegal. En este sentido, quería reiterar el interés que tiene nuestro país de hospedar una INC en caso de ser necesario, tal como lo hemos ofrecido formalmente a la Secretaría. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Chile. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Canada.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Uruguay for convening us all in your beautiful country to initiate this important work. We are delighted that INC-2 will be hosted in France and support the offers to host by Kenya and the Republic of Korea. I would formally share Canada's offer to host the 4th meeting of the INC in early 2024. This week during INC-1, we have successfully worked together, shared views, found areas of convergence, and look forward to work with all of you on an ambitious endeavor and timeline. Canada will do its utmost to ensure an accessible, inclusive, efficient, and meaningful meeting as host country. Canada takes this role seriously, including ensuring that all members and observers are able to fully participate and express their views. The Government of Canada is fully committed to making the visa application process as easy and as efficient as possible. Canada continues to be a host state of choice, both as host of the headquarters of several UN bodies, as well as for major events such as COP15. As host state, Canada takes its many obligations seriously, including ensuring that all member states are able to freely participate and express their views. In closing, we look forward to having the opportunity to welcome all of you to Canada in April 2024. And while I cannot guarantee we will do our best to make sure all the snow is gone by then, but please don't put that part in the meeting report. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Canada. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Germany.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you, our host, Uruguay, and for having us here. It was an honor to contribute to this conference. I would like to concur with the European Union and also thank the offers for hosting the next INCs from France, Kenya, Canada, as well as the Republic of Korea, and those who have offered interest in hosting the Plenipotentiary Conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of Germany. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia welcomes the decision to hold the second negotiating committee meeting in France. We are also grateful to member states who have kindly offered to host future INC meetings. We offer our strong and full support for the proposals to host INC-3 in Kenya, INC-4 in Canada, and INC-5 in the Republic of Korea. Australia also warmly thanks again the government and people of Uruguay for their generous hosting of this first INC meeting. We would be grateful for these comments being reflected in the meeting report. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Australia. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. The UK welcomes the decision which gives clarity on the location of INC-2. We would like to extend our warmest thanks to France for this important undertaking. We recognise we cannot continue our valuable work to agree a legally binding treaty on plastic pollution without the generous contribution of host countries. The UK would also like to recognise the generous offers from Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host INCs 3, 4, and 5. Finally, we wish to thank Uruguay for their generous hospitality, and we look forward to working with all host nations and the distinguished delegates here today as we take the steps on our shared path to end plastic pollution. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Sweden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Firstly, we would like to thank Uruguay for their hospitality during this INC. We look very much forward to meet everyone at INC-2 in Paris. We would like to echo with others and express our strong and full support for the generous offer of governments of Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea. We would be grateful if this could be reflected in the meeting report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Sweden. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Japan.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank the government of Uruguay for successfully hosting this INC-1. And also, I would like to thank France for hosting the second INC. I'm speaking on behalf of the Asia-Pacific group. As stated clearly in the opening statement by my colleague Jordan, I would like to reiterate that our group supports the offer of the Republic of Korea to host the 5th INC in 2024. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Japan. Le doy la palabra ahora a la distinguida representante del Uruguay.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Uruguay quisiera agradecer las ofertas presentadas por Francia, Kenia, Canadá y Corea del Sur para ser sede de las futuras sesiones del INC y le damos la bienvenida. Esperamos que puedan concretarse las reuniones en los estados mencionados. Sabemos que podrán llevar a cabo estos eventos con éxito. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante del Uruguay y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Luxemburgo.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, Luxembourg would like to thank the government and people of Uruguay for hosting this successful INC-1 and would also like to express its support and thanks to the governments of France for hosting INC-2, as well as the offers of the governments of Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea for offering INCs 3, 4, and 5. Thank you.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Luxemburgo y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante del Ecuador.
Gracias, presidente. En primer lugar, el Ecuador desea agradecer a Uruguay por la excelente organización de esta primera ronda de negociaciones del acuerdo jurídicamente vinculante sobre contaminación plástica. Asimismo, agradecemos y felicitamos a Francia por albergar nuestra segunda ronda de negociación INC-2. Por otro lado, también agradecemos los ofrecimientos de Kenia, Canadá y República de Corea para albergar asimismo los INCs 3, 4 y 5. Adicionalmente, presidente, deseamos reiterar nuestro ofrecimiento como Ecuador para tener y albergar la conferencia diplomática en nuestro país, incluyendo la posibilidad de la firma del acuerdo internacional en las Islas Galápagos, que son patrimonio natural de la humanidad. Si bien es parte de Ecuador, pues las Islas Galápagos son un patrimonio de la humanidad entera y además un laboratorio viviente de la evolución de las especies. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco al distinguido representante del Ecuador y le doy la palabra a la distinguida representante del Perú.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. La delegación del Perú desea agradecer al Gobierno y pueblo de Uruguay por la impecable organización de la INC-1 y por la generosa hospitalidad con la que nos han brindado durante esta semana de negociaciones. Deseamos expresar también nuestro agradecimiento con el Gobierno de Francia, que nos acogerá en París durante la próxima INC. Hacemos alto aprecio, asimismo, del ofrecimiento realizado por Kenia para acoger la INC-3, a Canadá para ser sede de la INC-4 y a la República de Corea para ser la sede de la INC-5. El Perú quiere reiterar también que ha presentado su aspiración para ser sede de la próxima conferencia diplomática, que es una extensión del liderazgo y esfuerzos que ha realizado el Perú en la lucha contra la contaminación plástica y también una expresión del liderazgo que tiene en este momento con la presidencia de este comité. Gracias.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante del Perú. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Czechia.
Thank you, Chair. Czechia would like to warmly thank Uruguay for hosting INC-1 and echo what the EU said and express strong support for the all suggested INC venues, INC-2 in France, INC-3 in Kenya, INC-4 in Canada, and INC-5 in Republic of Korea, and to be reflected in the meeting report. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Czechia. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Netherlands.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Netherlands welcomes the offer of France to host the next INC meeting. We stand ready to work with France and all delegations to have a successful INC-2. The Netherlands also welcomes the offer of Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host INC-3, 4, and 5, and the offer from Member States to host the Plenipotentiary Conference. We look forward to work with them and all delegations to have a successful negotiations and to work towards finalization of an ambitious and effective instrument. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Netherlands. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, we would like to reiterate our thanks to the government of Uruguay for hosting this meeting. We also welcome the decision of this committee to reconvene in France and look forward to continuing our work in May. We also give our firm support to Kenya and Canada on their offers to host the future INCs. The Republic of Korea would be delighted again to offer to host the 5th INC in the latter half of 2024. We would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the member states of the Asia-Pacific Group who have rendered their full support as a consensus for the Republic of Korea's hosting of the last round of INC in 2024. We also wish to sincerely thank all the member states who have expressed support for us. We will do our best for the smooth preparation for the meeting and would be happy to welcome you all to Korea later in 2024. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of South Korea y le doy la palabra a la distinguida representante de Costa Rica.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Costa Rica quisiera agradecer a Francia por su ofrecimiento y celebra además su designación para ser sede de la próxima sesión de negociación de este comité. Asimismo, agradece y apoya las ofertas presentadas por Kenia, Canadá y la República de Corea para ser sede de las siguientes INCs 3, 4 y 5 respectivamente. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de Costa Rica y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Senegal.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation du Sénégal félicite les pays qui ont fait les généreuses offres d'accueillir la ANC 2, 3, 4, donc la France, le Kenya, le Canada et l'INC-5 aussi, la République de la Corée. Nous nous réjouissons aussi de l'invite du Canada d'assurer la participation de tous les pays et pour faire en sorte que donc, cette INC-4 soit aussi bien suivie comme tous les autres. Enfin, nous remercions encore l'Uruguay vraiment pour l'accueil chaleureux et toute l'organisation qui a été faite pour cette première ANC. Merci.
Je remercie le distingué représentant du Sénégal et je donne la parole au distingué représentant de la Belgique.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Puisqu'il s'agit de la première fois que je prends la parole, permettez-moi de saisir l'occasion pour vous féliciter pour votre désignation en tant que président de ce comité de négociation intergouvernementale et l'important travail que vous avez réalisé tout au long de cette semaine. Je remercie également le secrétariat pour les excellents documents qui nous ont été fournis. Enfin, je remercie l'Uruguay et son peuple pour son accueil chaleureux dans la ville magnifique de Punta del Este. La Belgique soutient fermement l'intervention de l'Union européenne et je remercie et félicite la France pour l'accueil de la seconde réunion du comité. Je remercie également le Kenya, le Canada et la République de Corée pour leur proposition d'accueillir les séances suivantes du comité de négociation intergouvernementale qui recueille notre soutien total. Je vous remercie.
Je remercie les distingués représentants de la Belgique. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kenya.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya thanks the government of Uruguay for hosting a successful INC-1. The Kenyan delegation thanks the member states for supporting Kenya's offer to host INC-3. We welcome you to Nairobi. We also thank France for offering to host INC-2, Canada for INC-4, and South Korea for INC-5. With these venues on offer, we are convinced that we have the requisite goodwill to finalize the international legally binding agreement to eliminate plastic pollution. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Kenya. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Italy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Italy aligns itself with the statement by the European Union. We strongly welcome the joint offers from the government of France, Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea to host the next sessions of the INC and looks forward for a very successful meeting in these countries to end plastic pollution. Italy also wishes to thank the Republic of Uruguay for hosting us in this very beautiful venue. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Italy, and I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Finland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finland aligns itself with the previous statement by the European Union. We thank Uruguay for your hospitality, and we are delighted to meet in Paris for the INC-2 meeting next spring. Finland also welcomes the generous offers from Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea, and we support them as the hosts of the following INC meetings. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Finland. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Monaco.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Principauté de Monaco remercie chaleureusement l'Uruguay pour l'excellente organisation de cette réunion du comité de négociation. Et nous remercions également la France qui accueillera notre prochaine session. Nous nous joignons aux précédentes déclarations et soutenons les offres faites par le Kenya, le Canada et la Corée du Sud pour accueillir respectivement les INC 3, 4 et 5. Je vous remercie.
I thank the distinguished representative of Monaco. I give the floor to le doy la palabra a la distinguida representante de Cuba.
Gracias, señor presidente. Mi delegación se une a los agradecimientos que se han planteado anteriormente a la República de Uruguay por la gran acogida y organización que nos ha brindado para esta reunión. Asimismo, agradecemos las ofertas que han presentado los demás países, la aprobación de la celebración del próximo INC-2 en Francia y estamos seguros que todos los demás países, Kenia, Canadá, Corea, harán todos los preparativos y asegurarán también la participación de todos los países en este largo proceso que por encima de todo está los deseos de poder terminar este instrumento y hacerlo con la participación, inclusividad y con el multilateralismo que todos debemos dar. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de Cuba. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand would like to join others in expressing our appreciation to Uruguay for their warm and gracious hosting of us all for INC-1. We would also like to express our sincere gratitude to France, Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea for their generous offers to host future INCs. And we welcome the decision for the next INC meeting to take place in France. New Zealand wishes for our comments to be reflected in the report of this meeting. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of New Zealand. Je donne la parole maintenant au distingué représentant de la France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La France s'associe à la déclaration de l'Union européenne et soutient les offres d'accueil du Kenya, du Canada et de la République de Corée pour les 3e, 4e et 5e sessions du comité. Je vous remercie.
Je remercie les distingués représentants de la France. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Estonia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Firstly, Estonia very much appreciates the hospitality of the beautiful Oriental Republic of Uruguay, and we thank Uruguay for the excellent hosting of INC-1. We also would like to congratulate and thank France for hosting INC-2. We also warmly appreciate and fully support the proposals by the Government of Kenya, the Government of Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host INC-3, 4, and 5, as presented today. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Estonia. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Montenegro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. I would like to thank the government and people of Uruguay for hosting us and all participants of INC-1 for inspiring and useful interventions and lively discussions, as distinguished Mr. Chair noted during the morning session. It is clear that the issue of plastic pollution has raised a significant attention and that we have to act in an efficient and time-sensitive manner. We are offering a full support for your decision about future negotiations and extend warmest words to France, Republic of Korea, Canada, and Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Montenegro. Le doy la palabra al señor representante de España.
Muchas gracias, presidente. La delegación de España también quiere dar las gracias a todas las partes que se han ofrecido a acoger las próximas sesiones del INC. España agradece de corazón a Francia por su oferta y estará en París en el INC-2 y agradece profundamente las ofertas de Kenia, Canadá y de la República de Corea para ser sede de las siguientes reuniones del INC. España también quiere aprovechar para expresar su profundo agradecimiento por la hospitalidad del Uruguay por acogernos aquí, en su bello país, durante esta primera sesión del Comité de Negociación. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de España y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Georgia.
First of all, Georgia would like to thank our host Uruguay for providing great opportunity for the work of INC-1. We congratulate France for hosting the second INC meeting in Paris, and Georgia welcomes and supports the proposed offers for the next INC meetings in France, Canada, Kenya, Republic of Korea. Thank you.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de Georgia y doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Austria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to thank Uruguay for the hospitality we received here in Punta del Este. Austria aligns itself with the statement made by the European Union and expresses its full support for the offers to hold INC-2 by France, INC-3 by Kenya, INC-4 by Canada, and INC-5 by the Republic of South Korea. We also like this to be reflected in the meeting report. Thank you.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Austria y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Dinamarca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Denmark aligns itself with the statement of the European Union and would like to wholeheartedly thank Uruguay for hosting this important first INC. We fully support the decision for France to host INC-2 and welcome the generous offers of Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host the future INC 3, 4, and 5. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Denmark. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of the Cook Islands.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank the Uruguay government for their generous hospitality. The Cook Islands support the statements made by the United States, Switzerland, Norway, Australia, and others on the venues identified for INC 2, 3, 4, and 5. As a small island state, we do not have much time to prolong on deciding venues, as we need to allocate this time for the essential and significant work ahead of us to achieve what we are here for, a global treaty on plastic pollution. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Cook Islands. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Japan.
Thank you, Chair. I will take the floor in my national capacity because my colleague spoke on behalf of the Asian group. I'd like to congratulate France for the decision taken to host the second INC. Japan also welcomes and strongly supports the offers by Kenya and Canada and ROK to host INCs. Señor Presidente, a medida que nos acercamos al final de la semana, esta delegación quisiera expresar su agradecimiento al presidente por su excelencia liderazgo. También agradecemos a los amigos del presidente, la Secretaría del Programa de las Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente, el Gobierno de Uruguay, la ciudad de Punta del Este, los intérpretes y todo el personal que han hecho posible esta importante reunión. También agradezco a todos los delegados y observadores, incluidas las organizaciones internacionales y todas las partes interesadas, en particular los representantes de la juventud y de los pequeños estados insulares en desarrollo, por su participation active et constructive. Monsieur le Président, le moindre mouvement importe à toute la nature. La mer entière change pour une pierre. Agissons ensemble pour notre océan, pour notre planète. Au revoir, au prochain rendez-vous en personne à Paris. Je vous remercie.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Japón y le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Ruanda.
Thank you, Chair. Rwanda also grants its sincere gratitude to the Republic of Uruguay for the successful organization of this first INC-1. Rwanda, as a country with the tangible examples proving that you can live in a plastic-free pollution, we will be happy to host a diplomatic meeting as the last meeting of our tremendous effort. Rwanda also appreciates the working spirit that characterizes all member states during INC-1, which proves that together we can rescue our health, biodiversity from the negative impact of plastics pollution as the best heritage our descendants deserve. Thank you very much, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Rwanda. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Malaysia.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, Malaysia would like to express our gratitude to the government and people of Uruguay for the successful hosting of INC-1 in this beautiful Punta del Este. We have come to the final day of INC-1 where we have shared positions, perspective, and concerns while accumulating vast amount of information between parties and non-party stakeholders in the past few days. But there are still much left to be done as we advance to INC-2 next year. And moving forward, Chair, Malaysia aligns our view with Japan on behalf of Asia-Pacific region in expressing our gratitude to France for hosting the upcoming INC-2 in May 2023, and also wishes to support Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host the INC 3, 4, and 5. Finally, Malaysia would like to extend its gratitude to the Chair, as well as the Secretariat for their tireless work during the INC-1 and in preparation for the upcoming INC-2. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Malaysia. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nigeria expresses our appreciation to Uruguay for a warm reception and a conducive environment to brainstorm on this matter. We also appreciate the African Group for their commitment to this process and all other delegations in this INC-1 process. We thank also all the countries that have made offers to host the INC 2, 3, and 4. We reiterate our commitment to the INC process. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Nigeria. Le doy la palabra al distinguido representante de Panamá.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nuevamente queremos extender nuestros agradecimientos al gobierno y al pueblo de Uruguay por recibirnos en esta primera reunión del INC y felicitar al gobierno de Francia como anfitrión de las próximas INC2, a la vez que felicitar a los gobiernos de Kenia, Canadá y la República de Corea por sus postulaciones para ser los anfitriones de las consecuentes reuniones del INC, resaltando el interés global y conciencia en este importante proceso para acabar la contaminación por plástico. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Panamá. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Pakistan welcomed the offers of France, Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea for hosting INC 2, 3, 4, and 5. Finally, Pakistan appreciates and congratulates Uruguay for warm hospitality of first session. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Pakistan. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Portugal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I was hoping that you would speak Portuguese since you speak so many languages. And congratulations for your election. We want to thank very much the government of Uruguay and also the Uruguayan people. What a wonderful people and what a wonderful country. Thank you so much for receiving us so well. We also want to express our gratitude to France, to Kenya, to Canada, and to the Republic of Korea for their generosity. Thank you very much. We are, of course, it's needless to say that we are fully aligned with the intervention from the EU. Thank you.
Obrigado a la representante de Portugal. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Dominican Republic.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Agradecemos nuevamente la acogida de Uruguay durante esta semana y celebramos que Francia sea sede de la próxima INC. Igualmente le agradecemos a usted por facilitar el trabajo durante estas largas jornadas. De igual manera, acogemos y agradecemos las propuestas por parte de Kenia, Canadá y Corea del Sur para ser sede de las siguientes reuniones de este proceso, con lo cual vemos con optimismo el desarrollo de este proceso. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de la República Dominicana. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Comoros.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation des Comores soutient la généreuse offre de la France pour l'accueil du prochain INC ainsi que le Kenya, le Canada et la Corée du Sud. Merci.
I thank the distinguished representative of Comoros. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Our delegation associates itself with the intervention delivered by Japan on behalf of Asia Pacific Group. We congratulate Uruguay for the successful convening of INC-1. We congratulate France for becoming the host of the upcoming INC-2, and we welcome the offer from Kenya, Canada, and ROK to host the subsequent INC 3, 4, and 5, respectively. Furthermore, Mr. Chair, we would like to congratulate you for your leadership in steering our meeting throughout the week. Rest assured that we will continue to render our utmost support for your leadership in the next INC. At this opportunity, we would like also to extend our thanks and gratitude to the Secretariat, to Madam Executive Secretary and her team for the hard work, and we look forward to continue our conversation in Nairobi. I thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Indonesia. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of China.
谢谢主席。中国感谢乌拉圭对此次会议的细致安排，也感谢提出举办后续会议国家的慷慨。同时，中方也希望后续的东道国都可以确保各方充分参与，确保进程的包容性。中国愿意与国际社会共同推动达成未来的国际法律文书。谢谢。
I thank the distinguished representative of China. Le doy la palabra ahora al distinguido representante de Venezuela.
Gracias, señor presidente. Queremos agradecer al Gobierno del Uruguay, al pueblo de Punta del Este por su cálida acogida, a la Secretaría y a todos los que hicieron posible esta importante reunión. Asimismo, agradecemos a Francia por acoger la INC-2 y a los gobiernos de Corea, Canadá y Kenia por sus propuestas para acoger las próximas reuniones del INC. Gracias, señor presidente.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de Venezuela. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Philippines would also like to align with the statement of the Asia-Pacific Group as expressed by Japan. And we would like also to congratulate Uruguay for the successful hosting of the first meeting of the INC. As expressed by other colleagues, we would also like to express our gratitude to France, Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea for hosting the next INC meetings. We request that this appreciation and support be reflected in the INC-1 report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Philippines. I now give the floor to a distinguished representative to the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. Российская делегация выражает благодарность вам, секретариату и правительству Уругвая за хорошо организованную и проведенную первую сессию Межправительственного комитета. В рамках данной встречи были высказаны и услышаны основные направления, какие хотят видеть страны в подготавливаемом документе. Намечены планы по продолжению работы. Российская Федерация выражает свою заинтересованность и намерена в дальнейшем продолжить активное участие в работе по согласованию текста нового, важного, природоохранного соглашения по ограничению загрязнением пластиком окружающей среды нашей планеты. В заключении хотели бы выразить надежду, что будущие сессии Межправительственного комитета будут проходить в деполитизированной форме. Спасибо, господин председатель.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole. Nous tenons à remercier le peuple uruguayen et son gouvernement pour l'accueil chaleureux qui nous a été présenté pendant cette session de l'INC-1. Et nous saluons l'engagement de la France d'abriter l'historique INC-2, car ce sera là une occasion, Monsieur le Président, de constituer un comité effectif doté d'un règlement intérieur. Toutes nos félicitations envers le Kenya, le Canada et la Corée pour des offres nécessaires pour faire avancer les négociations. Nous vous félicitons vous-même, Monsieur le Président, pour la sagesse et la dextérité qui vous ont amené à conduire ces travaux avec réussite. Merci beaucoup.
Je remercie les distingués représentants du Congo. Y le doy la palabra ahora al distinguido representante de Colombia.
Muchísimas gracias, señor presidente. Colombia agradece y felicita al gobierno y pueblo de la República Oriental del Uruguay por este primer periodo de sesiones del INC. Felicitamos a su vez a Francia por acoger en mayo del próximo año la sede del INC-2 y agradecemos las ofertas de los gobiernos de Kenia, Canadá y la República de Corea para ser sede de los INC 3, 4 y 5. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Colombia. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Niger.
Ok, merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Niger remercie Monsieur le Président pour sa patience et les efforts déployés pour assurer cette session. Nous remercions aussi le secrétariat de l'INC pour avoir assuré la participation de tous les participants. Et je profite aussi pour féliciter tous les pays qui se sont positionnés par rapport aux INC à venir. Le Canada dit qu'il n'y aura pas la neige et j'ai fait un exercice de regarder la météo et le temps qu'il fera en mai 2023 en France. J'ai vu que tous les mois est couvert, il y aura la pluie. Et nous espérons que la Chine va nous fournir les parapluies. Merci beaucoup.
I thank the distinguished representative of Niger. We have now some requests for the floor from online interventions. We have little time before we get out. We will end our translation services, so I hope we will continue with these short interventions. I will give the floor online first to the distinguished representative of Greece.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear and see me. I hope you do. Chair, since it's the first time I'm taking the floor, may I congratulate you on your appointment and thank you for the work during this meeting and through you also the Secretariat. We also would like to thank Uruguay for giving us the opportunity to participate online and be part of this process. We also want to congratulate France, the host of our next INC, and fully align ourselves with a statement made by the EU, fully supporting offers by Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea to host INC 3 to 5 respectively. We hope that our statement can be reflected in the report. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Greece. I will now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ireland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ireland aligns itself with the previous statement of the European Union. Ireland supports and warmly welcomes the generous offers from the governments of Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea. We look forward to working with everyone in France in 2023, and we would like to wish our French colleagues all the best in their preparations. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ireland. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Slovenia.
Congratulations for your appointment and thanks to the work of Secretariat and you. Can you hear me? I have a prompt that you don't hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so I can continue. So thank you for all the work to UN Secretariat, also on behalf of Slovenia. Slovenia aligns with the statement of the European Union and would like to reiterate the thanks and full support to generous offers to host the future INCs by France, Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea. We would also like to express sincere thanks to Uruguay for hosting this first INC and applaud its successful organization also for the online participants. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to meet everyone in Paris for the INC2. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Slovenia. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Romania.
Am I audible? Hello?
Loud and clear.
Thank you, Chair. Romania supports the opinions expressed by you and its member states regarding the offers of all host countries for the upcoming INC sessions. I thank you for all the support for this INC session. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Romania. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Lithuania.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lithuania would like to thank Uruguay, Chair, and all the team. And in line with the statement of European Union, we would like to express our support for next meeting venue in France and future venues in Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Lithuania. I now invite the committee to consider draft decision UNEP/PP-INC.1/L2 entitled Provisional Agenda of the Second Session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. I would like to remind delegations that in accordance with Rule 3 of the Provisional Rules of Procedure being applied, the Executive Director shall, after approval by the Bureau, submit to the committee at each session the draft provision agenda for the following session. The committee shall review the draft and revise it as it deems necessary and agree to forward it to its next session for adoption. In this connection, the committee has before it the draft decision, which has standard procedural items as well as an item on the preparation of an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including on the marine environment. Before proceeding further, bear in mind that consultations are still ongoing on the bracketed text in the draft rules of procedure. I would like to propose a revision to the draft decision on the provisional agenda to include a new sub-item entitled, and I quote, Adoption of the Rules of Procedure, end of quotes, as sub-item A of item 3, organizational matters, to allow for consultations at the next session. The subsequent sub-items under item 3 will therefore be renumbered. May I take it that it is the wish of the committee to adopt draft decision UNEP/PP/INC.1/L.2 as orally revised? I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Tuvalu.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I take this opportunity to thank the people of the government of Uruguay for your outstanding and for hosting this incredible treaty. Tuvalu would like to support positions made by the Cook Islands, Australia, and others regarding the venues for INCs 1 to 5. We look forward to the hosting countries in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the distinguished representative of Tuvalu. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This delegation appreciates the work of the Secretariat and Chair in pulling together this provisional agenda for INC2. As we outlined in our plenary intervention, we would like to add a high-level segment to the provisional agenda for INC2. We believe that the high-level segment is an opportunity to build and maintain strong political leadership to get behind our work as we move forward in negotiations. And the beautiful setting of Paris, France offers a wonderful opportunity to bring our political leaders together to have discussions, to help advance our work, and with the goal of finishing the text of a new instrument by 2024. So this delegation proposes adding a high-level segment. We are open, and we heard the interventions from a number of countries that they don't want such a high-level segment to detract from the negotiations, and we completely agree with them. Therefore, we would request that the Secretariat consider innovative ways to ensure we provide substantial time for the negotiations while having a high-level segment, such as having this high-level segment the day before the INC working level negotiations, or having a high-level segment that runs in parallel with such negotiations. Thank you very much.
Agradezco a la distinguida representante de los Estados Unidos. Hemos tomado debida nota de su intervención. Sobre este punto no ha habido un acuerdo, así que, pero hemos tomado debida nota de lo que ha señalado en su intervención última. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Thailand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thailand appreciates the proposal from the Secretariat on the draft provisional agenda of the INC-2. In order to build the constructive work of INC-2, Thailand views that under the agenda item 4, preparation of the international legally binding instrument should be categorized in sub-agendas, in line with the committee's work in INC-2 as follows. 4A, structure of the instrument. 4B, a cluster of provision instrument including scope, objective, definition, and general core obligation addressing the entire life cycle of plastic and unintentional leakage or releases of plastic pollution into the environment. And 4C, a cluster of provisions including implementation measure, means of implementation, institutional arrangement, other obligation, and final provisions. This will facilitate in advance the self-population of member states and multi-stakeholders to actively participate in the next INC session and have their written submission required beforehand. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Thailand. May I take it that it is a wish of the I have the floor. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Egypt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'd just like to quickly react to the proposals that have been made. We thank the United States for their suggestion, which they had previously mentioned in plenary. But from this delegation's perspective, we do not see that the time is right for having a high-level segment in the INC process. We think that still it's quite early for that, and we should focus on the technical level discussions. Many of our, particularly our smaller delegations, would have difficulty having the bandwidth to also deal with a high-level segment being organized and having high-level participants in the meeting. And as for the proposal by the distinguished delegate from Thailand, we think that it's best to maintain the generality of agenda item 4. We can discuss all of the very important issues that have been highlighted, but at this stage, I think it is best in our delegations, from our delegation's perspective, it is best to keep it in general terms as it currently is in the draft document that you propose to adopt. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Egipto. Hemos tomado nota, como señalé, de las propuestas que se han presentado en la sala. May I take it that it is the wish of the committee to adopt draft decision UNEP/PP/INC.1/L2 as orally revised? I see no objection. It is so decided. The committee has thus concluded its consideration of agenda item 5. Colleagues, I now invite the committee to consider agenda item 6 entitled Adoption of the Report. I invite the committee to turn to document UNEP/PP.1/L.1 containing the draft report of the committee. The report contains Chapter 1, Introduction, Chapter 2, Opening of the session, Chapter 3, Elections of officers, Chapter 4, Organizational matters, Chapter 5, Preparation of an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Chapter 6, Other matters, Chapter 7, Adoption of the report, and Chapter 8, Closure of the meeting. You will note that some sections are still to be completed. It is in conformity with the practice of the United Nations to adopt reports of proceeding on the understanding that the rapporteur or the chair, with the assistance of the Secretariat, will be authorized to complete the report after each session. The completed report will reflect matters decided on by the INC, including those we agreed on earlier today under Agenda Item 4, as presented by the co-facilitators of the informal group. I have the honor to submit to the committee the draft report for its adoption and to seek the authorization of the committee to finalize the report. May I take that the committee wishes to adopt the draft report and authorize the chair to finalize the report in conformity with the practice of the United Nations? I see no objection. It is so decided. I've been informed that we will have no more interpretation after 18:45, so I ask for your indulgence for this. What is? The committee will now consider Agenda Item 7, Closure of the meeting. Does any delegation would like to make any statement? I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Austria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the privilege to speak on behalf of the group of Western European and other states. We express disappointment about the deferral of an election for those nominees for the Bureau that have been endorsed by their respective regional groups, in keeping with long-standing practice. Consultation during the week indicated that one delegation intended to oppose nominees from a different regional group. But for such opposition, this body would have been able to elect the entire clean slate of nominees endorsed by their regional groups. Responsibility for this development rests solely with the delegation that has decided to proactively and deliberately break with decades of precedents in environmental multilateralism for its own political purposes. We are deeply concerned about this attempt to undermine the spirit of multilateralism that has enabled UNEP to achieve great progress in international environmental affairs. We look forward to the successful election of these nominees at INC-2. We also encourage EG to agree on their nominations of 2 candidates prior to INC-2. In this regard, we remain confident that we will find a constructive solution. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Austria. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. La delegación de Colombia, en nombre del Grupo de América Latina y el Caribe, desea reiterarle nuestro agradecimiento por la conducción efectiva del primer periodo de sesiones del Comité Intergubernamental de Negociación. Agradecemos a nuestros anfitriones, el Gobierno y el pueblo del Uruguay por su generosidad y hospitalidad en la organización y desarrollo de esta reunión. Asimismo, agradecemos a las cofacilitadoras del Grupo Informal que trabajaron arduamente en los pasados días para darnos una hoja de ruta clara para el periodo intersesional y el relacionamiento con los demás actores interesados. La región espera que el informe del INC-1 refleje las visiones expresadas por los Estados miembros y el flujo de las deliberaciones durante esta primera sesión. A lo largo de esta semana, el Grupo de América Latina y el Caribe se ha pronunciado sobre aquellos asuntos que la región considera importantes y prioritarios en relación con este proceso multilateral y que resumiré a continuación. 1. La región enfrenta el flagelo de la contaminación por plásticos de una manera desproporcionada. Por ello, reiteramos nuestro compromiso con este proceso para la construcción de un instrumento jurídicamente vinculante sobre esta problemática, a la vez que señalamos la importancia de que se dediquen recursos suficientes para garantizar la participación de al menos 2 delegados de los países de América Latina y los pequeños estados insulares en desarrollo del Caribe, en lo que resta de sesiones del Comité Intergubernamental. Agradecemos a aquellos países donantes por los recursos destinados hasta ahora y a todos aquellos que se han pronunciado en este sentido en los pasados días. Hacemos votos por un productivo periodo intersesional que incluya la presentación de contribuciones por escrito por parte de los actores interesados y de los Estados miembros, con miras a nutrir un documento de potenciales opciones de elementos para el instrumento, el cual elaborará el Secretariado siguiendo el mandato dado por este INC. Al respecto, manifestamos nuestra expectativa de que dicho documento profundice significativamente en aquel trabajo que ya ha producido el Secretariado para este primer periodo de sesiones. Asimismo, reiteramos el llamado a que existan reuniones regionales preparatorias para facilitar el intercambio de visiones respecto de este proceso de negociación y descongestionar las sesiones del INC. Los medios de implementación, tales como la provisión de recursos financieros, nuevos, adicionales, predecibles y adecuados, el acceso, desarrollo y transferencia de tecnología y la construcción de capacidades, deben ser abordados de manera temprana y concomitante con las discusiones sobre otros elementos del instrumento y, por tanto, deben hacer parte integral de los trabajos del periodo intersesional. GRULAC seguirá abogando por un enfoque de derechos humanos, incluyendo el derecho a un ambiente limpio, sano y sostenible, y el derecho a la salud, así como una perspectiva de género e intergeneracional al abordar los riesgos e impactos en la salud humana asociados con los químicos peligrosos en los plásticos y los desechos, con especial atención a las poblaciones vulnerables, incluida la salud de los trabajadores a lo largo del ciclo de vida de los plásticos. En este sentido, la transparencia y el acceso a la información relacionada con los aditivos peligrosos en los plásticos y con la contaminación por plásticos, incluyendo la evidencia sobre la afectación a la salud humana, serán indispensables para nuestro trabajo. Reconocemos y visibilizamos a los recicladores de oficio, recuperadores, clasificadores, catadores y demás trabajadores del reciclaje. Como lo expresamos anteriormente, entendemos a la contaminación por plásticos como una problemática multifacética, con dimensiones ambientales, socioeconómicas y de salud, pública y ocupacional, que deben ser consideradas a lo largo del proceso. Finalmente, nos valemos de esta ocasión para saludar el trabajo del Secretariado y de todas las delegaciones durante esta semana. La región de América Latina y el Caribe se complace en haberles recibido para este primer periodo de sesiones, que esperamos sea la piedra angular de un ambicioso tratado que promueva un enfoque mundial integral para poner fin a la contaminación por plásticos. Gracias, señor presidente.
Agradezco al distinguido representante de Colombia. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Thailand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In my delegation's last verse, Thailand wishes to express our sincere appreciation to the government and people of Uruguay for their generous hospitality and great efforts in organizing this meeting successfully. We also congratulate and thank the government of France for hosting the upcoming INC-2 next year. Our most grateful also goes to you, Mr. Chair, for your wisdom and leadership. To all co-facilitators for their constructive work done, to the Secretariat for their hard work in preparing and organizing this virtual meeting till it leads the constructive and fruitful outcome. And also to all distinguished delegates for your contribution throughout this week. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Thailand. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Antigua and Barbuda.
Thank you. Let me begin by thanking you, Mr. Chair, for leading us through our deliberations this week. We also appreciate the government of Uruguay for hosting the first INC and the kind hospitality extended to the participants of the conference here in Punta del Este. Similarly, we also thank the UNEP Secretariat for their tireless efforts during the meeting and also during the months leading up to this meeting. Here we have commenced a historic process to deal with one of the biggest human-induced environmental crises, which the global community has failed to address thus far. However, even with the ambitious timeline we have set to conclude these negotiations, approximately 90 million tons of plastic remain in the ocean. The stakes are exceptionally high for small and developing states, taking into account our particular vulnerability to the adverse effects of plastic pollution and our negligible contribution to the problem. The tightening chokehold of plastics on the ocean is suffocating the lifeline that sustains our economies and forms an integral part of our identity, culture, and livelihoods. This also compromises the future of generations to come. We are therefore grateful for the spirit of unity that was demonstrated during this conference towards making substantive progress. We now have a better understanding of how we envision this instrument, and we look forward to this being captured in the elements paper that will be prepared by the Secretariat before the next session, taking into account not only the discussions here, but the forthcoming submissions as well. We request that a document be shared well in advance of the next INC to enable sufficient time for us to reflect and coordinate with our respective groups. AOSIS also wishes to reiterate the point we made at the beginning of this meeting about ensuring that process does not delay progress, especially considering that we may only have about 20 days of formal negotiations left. We must therefore make the most efficient use of our time and utilize opportunities to advance work during the intersessional periods in a manner that is conducive to the effective participation of SIDS. AOSIS remains ready to work constructively with member states and all stakeholders to ensure we conclude this process on time with an ambitious and effective text that will end the scourge of plastic pollution. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Antigua and Barbuda. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of the European Union.
Mr. Chair, Madam Executive Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to speak once again on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. As we have reached the end of this first session of the INC, Mr. Chair, the EU and its member states would like to express our deepest appreciation for your chairmanship and your efforts to lead us through this meeting. Your search for consensus around important issues and to move forward must be praised. The circumstances were not easy indeed, and this amplifies the merit of your efforts. We also thank the Secretariat for preparing the session in a way that allowed members to prepare well for our rich discussions. The EU and its member states also appreciate the broad participation by stakeholders, which we believe have contributed in a constructive manner during this meeting. And may I reiterate once again our thanks to the Oriental Republic of Uruguay for hosting us in this beautiful country and for your hospitality, providing excellent conference facilities in a welcoming environment. Mr. Chair, there is an urgent need for an ambitious plan to end plastic pollution that delivers on the mandate given by the United Nations Environment Assembly. a plan that must be efficient and effective, not only in the short term, but into the future, with all countries united to make the change. For the EU and its member states, this can only be achieved if we can all agree on a global objective, supported by global rules and action that address the sources of plastic pollution. We must ensure that we are reducing the overall production and consumption of plastics to sustainable levels through concrete measures, well-informed targets, and policies to ensure effective interventions along the entire plastics life cycle. Mr. Chair, we need to phase out unnecessary, avoidable, and problematic plastics, including the content of substance of concern. We must introduce core obligations regarding design criteria and other measures supporting safe and sustainable plastics. These must also aim at preventing leakages of plastic, including microplastics, into the environment. Plastic production and use is global, and national action plans alone will not be sufficient to address all important aspects of the plastics life cycle. Meanwhile, Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, the EU and its member states recognize that many types of plastics will still be needed in our economies, and these plastics should be kept there as long as possible. We therefore need this instrument to facilitate their reusability, repairability, and recyclability, and to ensure plastics are safe and free from substances of concern. But not even this, Mr. Chair, colleagues, will be enough. From those most affected by plastic pollution, we have heard the strong call for addressing waste management and legacy pollution. We have heard the need for a fair transition that takes into account the informal sector and those working in it, like waste pickers. We have also heard the need for robust means of implementation. The EU and its member states are ready to engage in these discussions to find a common understanding and a path forward to turn off the tap. Mr. Chair, in conclusion, the world is watching us. Moving forward, we call on you to guide us to stay on course, stay focused, and within the mandate. We call on all the members of the committee to support you in these efforts. The EU and its member states are optimistic that this committee can deliver, and we are motivated to working together with other members and all stakeholders to progress towards the next meeting of the INC. We believe it's time to roll up our sleeves and come together for an ambitious, concrete plan to end plastic pollution. We see each other again in only 4 months in person. There's a lot of things to do. Let's get it done. Thank you very much, colleagues.
I thank the distinguished representative of the European Union. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель. В связи с выступлением Австрии от имени стран ВИОК мы хотели бы отметить, что одна из стран, входящая в этот регион, достаточно часто и уже не первый десяток лет нарушает процесс выборов другой страны, согласованной в рамках азиатской группы. И все члены западноевропейской группы из раза в раз соглашаются с такой политикой. Хотели бы отметить, что наша страна вынуждена отвечать на действия со стороны стран Евросоюза и других западных стран, представители которых официально заявляют, что не допустят избрания России ни в один из выборных органов всех природоохранных процессов и соглашений. Таким образом, не мы стоим у истоков этой проблемы. Наша страна последовательно выступает против политизации международного природоохранного процесса. И как только западные страны изменят политику в отношении России в этом вопросе, мы будем готовы вернуться к нормальному сотрудничеству в этой сфере, в том числе в ходе выборов руководящих органов международных природоохранных соглашений и процессов, включая межправительственный переговорный комитет по разработке Конвенции по ограничению оборота пластика. Спасибо, господин председатель.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Brazil.
Thank you. Distinguished Chair, distinguished delegates,
The INC Secretariat did an excellent job along the INC-1 meeting process. Our work, we expect, will continue in the future sessions with the same diligence with regards to the broad range of subjects our countries and other stakeholders are dealing with in this forum. We know how difficult it is to find a common ground for the whole of the negotiation countries in this room. We understand that at this stage, we are set to specify the scope, objectives, obligations, and means of implementation so as to tackle plastic pollution without generating negative social and economic impacts on the most vulnerable communities. In moving forward, we believe to be crucial to properly balance environmental impacts assessments with economic and social ones in order to take into account the different aspects of those impacts on human life. As stated in Principle 1 of the Rio Declaration, human beings are at the center of concerns for sustainable development. In doing so, Brazil believes we will build confidence in the negotiation process. And the more confidence we build, the more smoothly we move forward. As we are all aware, sustainable development has three dimensions: economic, social, and environmental. In this sense, we can incorporate economic models aimed at measuring the human and economic impacts of transforming the whole of the production chain of plastics, from upstream to downstream, from producers to consumers, and to waste pickers and recyclers. Those are the main considerations of the Brazilian delegation to be implemented in the next INC meeting. In addition to this, the Brazilian delegation wishes to emphasize its support to the group of Latin American and the Caribbean position in the stance of having two work streams in preparation for the next INC session. One of them dedicated to core obligations, countermeasures, and voluntary approach, implementation measures and means of implementation. The other one to introductory elements, institutional arrangements, and other matters. We thank the Chair for the efforts put into this session and the government of Uruguay for so kindly meeting the needs of all delegations here in this beautiful city of Punta del Este. We thank finally France for hosting INC-2 and all the delegates who will be meeting once again in Paris. Thank you.
Agradezco al distinguido representante del Brasil. Como había informado, el servicio de interpretación va a tener que ser suspendido, se ha extendido bastante más allá de la hora fijada, por ello quería expresarle nuestro especial agradecimiento a los intérpretes por su flexibilidad y solicitarles a ustedes su indulgencia y comprensión por esta ausencia de interpretación. El siguiente, the next country in my speaking list is Uruguay. I give the floor to a distinguished representative of Uruguay.
Thank you, Mr. President. The delegation of Uruguay wish to express to all of you the honor it has represented to have received you in our country to participate in this first session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee. It would also like to express its gratitude to you, Mr. President, for your leadership on this meeting, and to the Secretariat for the work done and the capacity demonstrated, which we do not doubt will be the same in the session to come. A special mention of thanks goes to all those who have contributed with their works and effort to make this meeting possible. In particular, the staff of logistics, security, media, transportation and interpretation, without whom this meeting would not be possible. Mr. President, Uruguay supports the regional declaration made by Colombia on behalf of GRULAC, and in this regard, stress the value of the multilateralism as the appropriate way to address and solve global problems such as plastic pollution. It will be essential for our negotiation, the intersessional activities and enough funding for this, with both technical meetings and regional preparatory meetings for all. Mr. President, at the end, we can only thank all the delegation for their work and assure them that Uruguay will remain committed to the negotiation. We look forward to meet all of you in our country. Thank you very much. Señor Presidente. Señor Presidente, la delegación de Uruguay desea expresar a todos ustedes el honor que ha representado haberlos recibido en nuestro país para participar en esta primera sesión del Comité Intergubernamental de Negociación. Asimismo, desea expresar su agradecimiento a usted, señor Presidente, por la conducción de esta reunión y a la Secretaría por el trabajo realizado y la capacidad demostrada que no dudamos estará a la altura de las instancias de negociación por venir. Una mención especial de agradecimiento deseamos realizar a todos quienes han contribuido con su trabajo y esfuerzo a que esta reunión pudiera realizarse, en especial al personal de logística, seguridad audiovisual, transporte e intérpretes, sin los cuales todo esto no sería posible. Uruguay apoya la declaración regional realizada por Colombia en nombre de GRULAC y al respecto destaca el valor que otorga al multilateralismo como vía adecuada para encarar y solucionar problemas de alcance global con la contaminación por plásticos. Será fundamental que nuestras negociaciones puedan contar con una nutrida actividad interseccional y con financiamiento para ello, en las que se puedan realizar tanto reuniones técnicas como reuniones regionales preparatorias. Señor Presidente, solo nos resta agradecer el trabajo de todas las delegaciones y asegurarles que Uruguay mantendrá su compromiso con la negociación. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Uruguay for your words, your general words, and the support of the delegation of Uruguay for this conference. I have now in my list a representative of the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia. I give you the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sayyid al-Rais, Mr. Chairman, since there is no translation, I will read it in Arabic, and I think we should always keep the translation for the country's statement. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي بالنيابة عن وفد بلاد المملكة العربية السعودية أن أكرر شكري لحكومة الأورجواي على ما وجدناه من حفاوة وتنظيم، كما أشكر سعادتكم على قيادتكم لاجتماع اللجنة الأولى، ونتطلع إلى مزيد من النجاحات والاجتماعات القادمة. سيد الرئيس، نؤكد أيضا على حرص المملكة العربية السعودية على الوصول إلى ما نصبو إليه من حماية البيئة وإيجاد حل التلوث البلاستيكي يتلائم مع الجميع ويأخذ بالاعتبار القدرات والإمكانيات المتباينة بين الدول. ونذكر أنفسنا وزملائنا من الوفود الأخرى بأن أساس اجتماعنا هذا يجمعه هدف واحد تمت صياغته في قرار جمعية الأمم المتحدة دورتها الخامسة ونحن حريصون كذلك على الالتزام بالخطة الزمنية المتفق عليها للانتهاء من العمل على مسودة الصك الدولي الملزم قانونا، كما أننا نتطلع لهيكل العمل القادم الصادر عن اتفاق اللجنة للدورات التشاورية فيما بين اجتماعات اللجنة. نؤمن بأن معالجة دورة حياة البلاستيك قد تناولتها اتفاقيات أخرى متعددة، كما أن قرار جمعية المتحدة للبيئة يدعو إلى إنهاء التلوث البلاستيكي، ولذلك ينبغي على جميع التركيز على مسألة التلوث والتي من أهم أسباب الإدارة غير السليمة بيئيا للنفايات. الجميع تابع ما توصلنا إليه في الأيام السابقة من مشاورات للطريق قدما إلى اجتماع اللجنة القادم INC-2، وما نأمل من مشاركة أصحاب المصلحة، ولكن يتبقى علينا عمل مهم للغاية وهو الاتفاق الإجماعي على أهداف الصك، إطاره ومبادئه، لكي نحقق الهدف المشترك بحلول عام 2024 ميلادي. ولذلك فإننا ندعو زملائنا من الوفود الأخرى وسكرتارية اللجنة ورؤساء المجموعات الإقليمية على أن نعمل بروح التعاون لرؤية مزيد من النتائج في الاجتماعات القادمة. نود أن نؤكد السيد الرئيس بأن المملكة العربية السعودية تدرك أن تحدي التلوث البيئي للنفايات البلاستيكية هو تحدي عالمي عابر للحدود يتطلب تضافر الجهود والعمل المشترك لحماية البيئة. ختاما، إن هذا الصك يعد أداة مثالية وفرصة لتكامل الجهود بين كافة الدول لوضع حد للتلوث البلاستيكي، لكن هذا الأمر مربوط لحين سنه بشكل شمولي ومتوازن. كما نكرر شكرنا لحكومة جمهورية الأرجواي وللجنة التفاوضية الحكومية الدولية ولزملائنا من الوفود الحكومية المشاركة. شكرا سيد الرئيس. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of Ghana.
Thank you, Chair. I have the honor to deliver this closing statement on behalf of the Africa Group. The Africa Group wishes to extend sincere gratitude to the government and people of Uruguay for hosting the first meeting of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee in beautiful Punta del Este. The Africa Group also thanks Uruguay for the wonderful hospitality that has been offered to us since our arrival in Uruguay, and to the rest of the delegates who have attended this first INC session. The Africa Group appreciates the efforts of the INC Secretariat for the organization of the INC-1 meeting that is ending with such tremendous success. Chair, the Africa Group congratulates you once again for the honor bestowed on you as the chair of the INC Bureau and for the able manner in which you have conducted the affairs of the first INC session. We express confidence in your leadership and look forward to working with you in executing the rest of the INC process. The African Group thanks all delegates who have participated in this INC meeting, both in person and online. As INC-1 comes to a close, we acknowledge that great progress has been made and that the stage has been set for the successful execution of the remaining sessions of the INC. On the legally binding instrument, it is the hope of the Africa Group that with the support of the Secretariat, the INC Bureau will lead member states to deliver an effective instrument in the end and to release the outline of the structure of the future agreement for INC-2, based on the discussions that have occurred during this session. In the coming intersession period, we hope that the Secretariat will organize and support activities that will help to build the capacity of member states, particularly the developing countries among us, so that they can continue to participate effectively in negotiations that will lead to an effective, legally binding instrument for plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. The Africa Group hopes that the next INC session would lead us to successful discussions that will produce a zero draft on which we can start to constitute the elements of the instrument. regarding the organization of future INC sessions, the Africa Group welcomes the generous offer from France to host the next INC session. The Africa Group promises to continue our active participation in the remaining sessions. Finally, we appeal to all member states and regional groups to continue their active participation in the remaining INC sessions. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ghana. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just raised the point of order that if there is no interpretation in the room and different statements are going on, I request to the chair to either to provide the interpretation or to close this session. Thank you.
As I mentioned, I ask for indulgence of the delegates. There are a few delegates who would like to express their final statements regarding this session. So I will ask again for your indulgence as well as other delegates. I know that this is a difficult situation, but hopefully we can end this session in a very constructive way. So I'll give the floor to the following. If you agree on this proposal, this is an exceptional situation. To continue this way, I have a few member states that would like to intervene, and I give the floor to Eritrea, to distinguish the delegate of Eritrea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity. I congratulate you for ably chairing this meeting. Mr. Chair, the first session of the INC has contributed much in giving us a wider view of the complex nature of plastic pollution and the various interests embedded in it. My delegation appreciates the session for giving equal importance to plastic pollution that occur at different levels of the plastic chain, namely upstream, midstream, and downstream. However, we feel that some are more important than others. Actions taken at midstream and downstream level cannot be achieved without creating another pollution and further contribution to carbon emission, which may even lead us to a vicious cycle. We understand that plastic is a readily available product which is convenient to use and unpainful to our pocket. This implies that unless the volume of virgin plastic entering into the market is not strictly controlled, the availability of cheap plastic and unnecessary consumption will continue to grow. Technical issues that are related with product design, identifying and banning of plastics that have pollutant elements, and recycling and treating of good plastics have also the potential of being beyond the means and capability of developing countries. Therefore, Mr. Chair, the plastic menace that you are experiencing today can quickly and meaningfully be reduced when effective measures are taken in controlling the volume of virgin plastics that are entering into the market. Indeed, the world needs to create artificial scarcity so that the value of plastic is increased, unnecessary consumptions are discouraged, and reusing and recycling of plastic products are economically feasible. Mr. Chair, as we wait for INC-2, we kindly request the Secretariat to make relevant documents available during the intersession period, including a general overview of the socio-economic impact of ending plastic pollution at global level. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Eritrea. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Turkey.
Dear President, on behalf of my delegation, I would like to thank you for your outstanding presidency during the INC-1 process. At the same time, we would like to thank the Secretariat for the documents they have prepared and for their flexible and constructive attitude to the issues. We are also grateful to the government of Uruguay for their excellent hospitality. As all stakeholders, we firmly believe that our efforts to put an end to plastic pollution, which is an issue that we have to deal with in many different dimensions in such a short time as 2 years, will be a good example and starting point. As the parties that prepare the necessities of the UN decision, we all leave a mark in history. I sincerely hope to be together again and achieve success in other meetings in INC process. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Turkey. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Chile.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to apologize to everyone who doesn't speak Spanish, but since it's an official language, I would like to make my statement in Spanish. Señor Presidente, primeramente quisiera asociar mi intervención con lo señalado por la distinguida delegación de Colombia a nombre del GRULAC. Agradecemos el arduo trabajo realizado por la Secretaría en el desarrollo de esta reunión, la cual consideramos el inicio del que esperamos sea un exitoso acuerdo ambiental, poniendo fin a la contaminación por plásticos, incluido en el medio ambiente marino. Igualmente, agradecemos la labor que ha realizado el presidente, quien ha dirigido las discusiones que se llevaron a cabo esta semana. Asimismo, apreciamos el trabajo de las cofacilitadoras de Ecuador y Canadá al conducir el grupo informal de contacto que logró establecer un claro mandato y las vías de acción en miras de la INC-2. Chile posee una línea de costa de aproximadamente 83.850 kilómetros, considerando el perímetro de todos sus territorios insulares y marítimos. Al igual que otros países, la contaminación por plásticos y microplásticos está afectando todas nuestras costas, nuestros ecosistemas marinos y oportunidades de desarrollo. Es por ello que a nivel internacional debemos rápidamente acordar un acuerdo basado en un enfoque global que aborde todo el ciclo de plástico y contemple medidas que permitan controlar la contaminación por plástico y reducir los riesgos que estos materiales, por lo cual debemos buscar promover el mayor bienestar posible de las personas, el medio ambiente, la economía y la seguridad alimentaria. Consideramos que reglas claras, vinculantes y universales permitirán organizar los esfuerzos de la comunidad internacional y del sector privado para promover la producción y el consumo sostenible de los plásticos, así como controlar y reducir la contaminación por plásticos abarcando todo su ciclo de vida. En este sentido, queremos relevar la importancia de la ciencia, la cual debe ser la base de nuestra toma de decisiones en el proceso de la INC, por lo cual instamos a que las discusiones tengan siempre el mejor conocimiento científico disponible. Igualmente, se debe destacar la humanidad conjuntamente debe alcanzar un cambio cultural enfocado en la eficiencia de los recursos y transitar a conductas de consumo responsables que permitan proteger la naturaleza y mejorar la calidad de vida de las personas. Nosotros, señor presidente, creemos que esto sí es posible, por lo cual instamos a una adecuada campaña de información respecto al desarrollo de este acuerdo y la trascendencia que tendrá para estas y futuras generaciones. Tal como dijimos al comienzo de esta negociación, existen grupos vulnerables que deben ser considerados, como son las niñas y niños, las personas con discapacidad física, mental, intelectual y la menos conocida, sensorial. No podemos olvidar además la deuda histórica que tenemos como sociedad, por lo cual requerimos que las próximas negociaciones sean llevadas a cabo con perspectiva de género, incluidos los grupos de expertos y cuerpos subsidiarios que se establezcan. En relación a esto, Chile reafirma que el futuro tratado debe tener un enfoque en derechos humanos, no dejando de lado el aspecto social en relación a la existencia de trabajadores informales y la situación de los recicladores de base, quienes han sido gravemente expuestos a fuentes de contaminación. Es en relación a esto que debemos tomar conciencia de la afectación de los derechos de los trabajadores, pudiendo reconocer su contribución histórica de manera de avanzar hacia una transición justa. Creemos que el periodo de envío de insumos que establezca previo la INC-2 otorgará la posibilidad de encaminar el futuro trabajo, de manera que desde el inicio de la próxima reunión se formen los grupos de contacto y se otorgue la posibilidad de avanzar lo más rápido posible para efecto de maximizar los esfuerzos y evitar perder tiempo en plenarias realizando intervenciones que puedan ser enviadas con anterioridad. Respecto de los foros de las partes interesadas que se realicen en el futuro, creemos que ha sido una experiencia valiosa, pero que ciertamente puede ser mejorada, ya que siguiendo lo indicado por el Acuerdo de Escazú, del cual somos parte,
creemos que se debe fomentar la participación en cada una de estas mesas de representantes de gobierno, la academia, sociedad civil, industria y todos quienes quieren ser parte. Asimismo, al término de su desarrollo se debe presentar un informe resumen preparado por la Secretaría, el cual permitirá un insumo real de las distintas visiones y discusiones en el tema. Instamos también a que exista una optimización de recursos, ya que esto no debe significar una disminución en el financiamiento para los delegados políticos y técnicos gubernamentales quienes deben participar en esta reunión. Y como han indicado los países donantes, se debe asegurar la participación de al menos 2 delegados por países. Respecto de la preparación para la próxima reunión, y tal como lo expresó el distinguido delegado de Colombia, proponemos como medida para aunar visiones y descongestionar las discusiones previas a la INC-2, organizar reuniones regionales previas. Finalmente, queremos agradecer a la República Oriental del Uruguay y a todos sus ciudadanos por la amable acogida en estos días de trabajo, quienes han hecho que nuestra experiencia en esta reunión sea excepcional. Les deseamos a todos un buen regreso a casa y nos vemos en París. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Chile. I give now the floor to the distinguished representative of Maldives.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of my delegation, I would like to thank the Uruguay government for the warm welcome and great hospitality during the first INC. We also would like to extend our gratitude to France, Kenya, Canada, and Republic of Korea to host the INC 2, 3, 4, and 5. Maldives look forward to work together with all member states toward legally binding instrument. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Maldives. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Panama.
Gracias, señor presidente. En nombre de la República de Panamá, queremos felicitar al embajador Mesa Cuadra por su excelente trabajo como presidente del comité y el programa de las Naciones Unidas del Medio Ambiente por la organización de esta primera reunión del INC y todos los documentos elaborados y facilitados. De igual forma, extendemos nuestro agradecimiento a los países donantes por su apoyo, a su vez que reiteramos y compartimos la intervención del distinguido delegado de Colombia en representación del GRULAC. A lo largo de la semana se ha resaltado la importancia de eliminar de manera progresiva la contaminación por plásticos desde un enfoque integral del ciclo de vida y la necesidad de tomar acciones para la protección de la salud humana y el ambiente. Es por ello que este tratado debe tener metas ambiciosas e incluir mecanismos para incentivar, aplicar y monitorar esfuerzos nacionales y regionales, con una prioridad de apoyo a países en vías de desarrollo bajo el fortalecimiento de capacidades, fuentes de financiamiento y la transferencia de tecnología. Desde la perspectiva nacional, la República de Panamá continuará trabajando en la implementación y el control de reemplazo progresivo de plástico de un solo uso, el mejoramiento de nuestro sistema de gestión de residuos y aplicando acciones para reducir el impacto de la basura marina y microplásticos, bajo el marco de nuestro Plan de Acción de Basura Marina publicado este año. Es importante considerar todas las partes intervenidas y compartir la meta que en este momento estamos en el proceso para tomar acción y trabajar en conjunto para acabar con la contaminación por plásticos, dado los riesgos que representa tanto para la salud humana, los ecosistemas y la biodiversidad biológica. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Panama. I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of China.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your excellent work. I would also like to raise concerns about the organization matters. The start of our closing plenary this afternoon was delayed by 1.5 hours than scheduled. As a result, the meeting is now taking place without simultaneous interpretation. So we support the proposal made by Pakistan. I also kindly request the Secretariat to avoid this situation next time. Otherwise, we cannot go through any agenda. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of China. This point about translation was mentioned more than 1 hour ago. We prevent the membership that we would not have translation after 6:45. So this is an issue we have already. And I ask at that moment for your indulgence, no, because there are some delegates that have registered, even though they knew that there will not be translation. So again, I urge you to accept my apologies for this situation, but I ask for your indulgence. I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have raised a point of order because we can continue in English, but in English. You know, we have listened already 2 interventions in Spanish and 1 intervention in Arabic. Our delegation, unfortunately, doesn't understand and speak these languages. And many delegations are in the same situation. If we are continuing this meeting, we have either to provide interpretation or we should listen only to the interventions if they are connected to the agenda of our meeting, but in English. In this regard, you know, and that can be continued only if all countries agree with the proposed way forward. As far as I understand, distinguished delegations and delegates of Pakistan and China, and I am joining them, requested to stop the meeting in case Secretariat is not able to provide interpretation. So if 3 countries are against of continuing in English, we have to stop it. That is rules of procedure and common practice, and we have to observe it. Sorry for that, Mr. President. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate representative of Russian Federation. I understand the point, and I will ask delegates to intervene in English because I understand that there is a difficulty with other languages. I give the floor to the representatives that I have. There are a few more that will intervene in English, and I have only 1 via online. I give the floor to the representative of Mexico, and I ask them to intervene in English.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will do my best to translate on the go as we had prepared an intervention in Spanish. Mexico adheres to the declaration made by Colombia on behalf of GRULAC and reiterates its disposition to advance our work, intercessional work, face-to-face to our next meeting. We reaffirm our commitment with multilateralism, and in that sense, Mexico announces that it is adhering to the High Ambition Coalition to end plastic pollution. After these weeks of deliberations, Mexico reaffirms the urgency to act immediately to address the problems generated by plastic pollution, and that we need to define legally binding measures to regulate materials and additives and to eliminate unnecessary plastics or plastics that are toxic to our human health. Given the plastified global economy we live in, we are facing a complex problem that will require a significant transformation of our habits of production and consumption, and that will have impacts along all of the value chain of most of our industries. That's why we do need to talk about the just transition with a focus on human rights and gender perspective. In the elaboration of this agreement, it is essential to put at the center of the discussion the respect to the right to a healthy, clean, and sustainable environment, as well as the right to a healthy environment. Sorry, I'm messing up here my translation. And also the human right to health. Mexico also reiterates that it will be essential to grant financing resources, technology transfer, and technical assistance towards developing countries, towards building national capacities, addressing national needs and local problematics. Mexico is convinced that working closely with academia, specialized civil society organizations, working people, informal and waste collectors, indigenous people, women, youth, and childhood, we can find common solutions that allow us to have a healthy planet free of plastic pollution. That is why Mexico highlights Principle 10 of the Rio Declaration and the Escazú Agreement as a perfect example to follow up and guarantee the access to information, public participation throughout the whole process of negotiation and implementation of a legally binding treaty. Mr. President, Mexico congratulates you for your excellent conduction of this meeting. And we also want to congratulate the Secretariat for its hard work in all of the preparation of our work and documents, as well as the co-facilitators in our informal groups. Finally, Mexico wants to thank the governments of France, Kenya, Canada, and the Republic of Korea for their offers for hosting the next meetings, and thanks the government of Uruguay for its generous hospitality. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mexico. This was the last intervention from state members. I will now give the floor to observers. We have time only to 3 observers. I will give first the floor to the Center for Oceanic Awareness, Research and Education. Is in microphone 70.
Thank you, Chair, and happy Friday, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies, gentlemen, and all gentle persons. I represent CORE, the Center for Oceanic Awareness, Research and Education, and I have the privilege to also speak on behalf of the Center for International Environmental Law, Action on Smoking and Health, Corporate Accountability International, and Break Free from Plastic. While we have not made full progress through the agenda as quickly as we had hoped, this was nevertheless has been a fruitful and useful meeting. Among other things, we have heard firsthand from some of the people whose very lives are threatened and impacted by the life cycle of plastics and the plastic industry. Some of these messages were difficult to hear, and they should be. They should give us pause, but they should also inspire us to act, and to act quickly. One of the reasons it has taken us so long to make progress is that in addition to being flooded with plastic pollution, we are constantly being fed misinformation. One of the reasons, as we heard in the NGO major group opening remarks, the interests of industries that profit from plastic production present potentially profound conflicts with global public interest in dramatically reducing plastic production. This demands vigilance to ensure against undue industry influence in these critical negotiations. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the leading UN entity on human rights, calls attention to the UN guiding principles on business and human rights and notes that there is a fundamental and irreconcilable conflict of interests between industry and those profiting from the production and proliferation of plastic and the health and human rights of those affected. The UN Human Rights submission to this INC further notes that the life cycle of plastics has become a global threat to all human rights, not just the right to a healthy environment, but also the rights to life, health, food, water and sanitation, equality and non-discrimination, and housing. The UNEP report Neglected Environmental Justice Impacts of Marine Litter and Plastic Pollution, published last year, found that the life cycle of plastics can pose obstacles to the full and timely achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. In fact, the life cycle of plastic impedes every single one of the 17 SDGs. As echoed this morning by Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, plastics are simply fossil fuels in a different form, and they pose a serious threat to human rights, climate, and biodiversity. We cannot address plastic pollution without addressing plastic production. We must turn off the tap and cap the amount of plastics being produced. The true cost of plastic pollution is plastic production and use is foisted upon everyone. Everyone in this room, everyone we represent, and even and especially those without representation. Let us move forward and move forward swiftly. Thank you for the floor, Chair.
I thank, of course, for your intervention. I give the floor now to WWF. Microphone 71.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates. My name is Zainab Sadan, and I'm speaking on behalf of WWF. This week, the INC has taken the first steps towards the establishment of a legally binding global instrument to end plastic pollution. WWF is highly motivated by the broad support for an ambitious instrument with both binding global control measures across the plastics life cycle and complementary national actions to end plastic pollution. Regional and national statements representing more than 145 states across all geographic regions have shown strong alignment in their preference for a treaty with specific and common global rules. These include bans and phase-outs of the most problematic forms of plastic and harmful additives, and product requirements to ensure reuse and circularity. Most of the work, however, is still ahead of us. It is imperative that we move as soon as possible from the abstracts to the specifics of the new instrument, both during the intersessional period and at INC-2. What specific criteria shall we use to determine problematic plastics that must be banned and phased out? What specific measures shall we employ to increase reuse and ensure a non-toxic circular economy? What support mechanisms and for what specific measures would the treaty require to ensure a just transition and effective implementation by all parties? In seeking the answer to these important questions, we must remember that the solutions would demand more than hopeful promises and voluntary commitments. Common global rules that are specific, just, and proportional to the issues that they are aiming to address are essential to maximize the treaty's potential. WWF, along with all civil society organizations, stand ready to engage, provide inputs and support initiatives to research, identify and elaborate on the specific global measures that would advance the negotiation and the timely adoption of the new treaty to end plastic pollution. Thank you.
I thank WWF, and I now give the floor to International Pollutants Elimination Network, microphone 76.
Good evening, distinguished delegates. IPN would like to offer some reflections on the first session of the INC. Tomorrow, we will return to the communities in which we live and work, and where children, our families, workers, and the communities are exposed to dangerous chemicals in their everyday lives from plastics. This is not an abstract issue. We continue to see people suffering from the effects of plastic pollution. As we come to a close, we would like to reflect on our collective moral responsibility. It's our ultimate responsibility to protect the health of the most vulnerable among us through the negotiation of a strong treaty on plastics that drastically reduces the plastics produced. We heard many delegates express the need for addressing both the environmental and health impacts of plastics by addressing harmful polymers and chemicals and calling for transparency of chemical ingredients. Toxic chemicals are incompatible with a circular economy. We look forward to having the opportunity to continue to work with you in the same constructive and collaborative manner through the upcoming negotiating sessions. Thank you, Chair, delegates, and colleagues. We thank the hospitality of the Republic of Uruguay, and we wish for a safe journey home to all. Thank you.
I thank IPN for your intervention. I now give the floor to the Executive Secretary of the Secretariat of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, Ms. Jyoti Mathur-Philippe. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We are coming to an end of this now. So, distinguished delegates, my deep thanks to Minister Peña and his team and to the government of Uruguay for hosting this first meeting of the Environmental Committee to develop an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. My deep appreciation to you, the delegates, for your presence, your hard work, your commitment towards the mandate, and your incredible collaborative spirit, warmth, and positivity. And finally, my sincere gratitude to the Chair, Ambassador Mesa Quadra, for his able and committed leadership in bringing the INC together. This week was marked by a powerful display of engagement to the process with unprecedented interventions during this week from all delegates here. During this week, we have put in motion our next collective steps. The outcome of this meeting will give us a mandate that is deeply crucial as we move towards developing a draft instrument within 2 years. I would like to thank the members of the INC for entrusting upon the Secretariat this responsibility. I would like to reassure you, the members of the INC, that we at the Secretariat are delighted to take on this work with gratitude and determination. We are trying to achieve through this multilateral process to keep plastics in our sight, in the economy, but out of the environment. Members of this process have set themselves a remarkable deadline. Ambitious, yes. Doable, absolutely. This is an opportunity to demonstrate the multilateralism grounded on strong science can deliver, an opportunity to embrace innovation, an opportunity to spur long-term solutions. Punta del Este is our first stride in this journey, and we will meet again in a few short months in France to continue our work. I'm confident that we will rise to the challenge with the urgency that the plastic crisis demands, and I'm confident that we can work together to find common ground for the people and planet. Before I end, and if you would allow me, I would like to thank the interpreters who have been very flexible with us, report writers, technicians, Interactio team, and everyone working on conference services in this center to make sure that we can meet here. I would also like to thank the UNEP teams that have supported us here, but last but not least, our INC Secretariat team. They are exceptional, simply exceptional. Please join us together in applauding ourselves and all the work that we have accomplished this week. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Executive Secretary for her statement. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, representatives of observer organizations, our time in Punta del Este, Uruguay, is coming to a close. I wish to thank again the government of Uruguay for hosting this inaugural session of the INC, as well as UNEP and the INC Secretariat for their tireless work leading up to and during this meeting. These last 2 days have been very productive, with over 2,500 participants and representatives of 150 countries. We have hosted a multi-stakeholder forum, regional consultations, and substantive discussions on the key elements of the future Plastics Treaty. We have discussed different aspects of what we want the future instrument to be, as well as the process to get there and the involvement of relevant stakeholders. It has been important to listen to stakeholders, get their inputs, and we will continue to improve the stakeholder engagement process to achieve a truly inclusive and stakeholder-informed process. This meeting has been unique in several ways, not least of which the large participation of small islands. As chair, I look forward to encouraging broad and inclusive participation in this process to ensure that our negotiations remain transparent, inclusive, and informed by experts from all sectors, including business, academia, NGO, etc. We knew that these negotiations would be complex, at times technical, and difficult to find common ground. However, at the beginning of this inaugural session, I urge us all to engage in dialogue with an open mind and a commitment to the environment and planetary health. As the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said today, and I quote, "Plastics are fossil fuels in another form and pose serious threat to human rights, the climate, biodiversity. As negotiations towards an agreement to beat plastic pollution continues, I call on countries to look beyond waste and turn off the tap on plastic." End of quote. I am pleased that we have been able to find areas of agreement and that we maintain a clear commitment to achieving an ambitious treaty to end plastic pollution, that, as Secretary General Guterres urges, addresses waste as well as the rest of the plastic life cycle. UNEA Resolution 514, entitled Ending Plastic Pollution Towards an International Legally Binding Instrument, which created a legal framework that has guided our efforts as participants in this first INC meeting, mandated us to work towards an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment, that addresses the full life cycle of plastics. I want to reiterate that this is not an easy task, but the right thing to do is hardly ever easy to implement. To accomplish our mandate, we must remain patient and committed to our goals and not lose sight of our overall objectives, ending plastic pollution. It is important to take a step back and truly recognize the progress that has been accomplished. As alluded to previously, delegates discussed the objectives, scope, fundamental elements of the future treaty, binding and voluntary measures, scientific and technical cooperation, research, awareness raising, and stakeholder engagement. I want to thank each of you for your constructive engagement these days, and I am confident that in our next INC meeting, we will pick up where we left off and continue to make progress towards our great idea. Once again, I reiterate our immense gratitude to Uruguay. And since we are here in Uruguay, a land of poets, I will conclude with a quote from the most famous Peruvian poet, César Vallejo. I will say first in Spanish. Hay, hermanos, muchísimo que hacer, y vaya, qué poco hemos hecho, cuánto queda por hacer. There is, brothers, so much to do, and boy, how little we have done, how much remains to be done. End of quote. I look forward to our next meeting and wish each of you happy and safe travels back home. We will see you in Paris. Thank you very much. I now declare closed the first session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. The meeting is adjourned.
Nice.